Hi guys, now this is Rubik's Cube. Rubik's Cube, we all have played with it, we all are familiar with it. It has its own trade-offs. You try getting one side right and you end up disrupting the balance on another side. Very similar to this, there's a challenge which is faced by governments around the world. Government has 5 macroeconomic objectives. They include low and stable rate of inflation, low unemployment, sustainable economic growth, equity in income distribution, and favorable balance of payments. Now today we are going to discuss a very important trade-off between two macroeconomic objectives. One is low and stable rate of inflation and another is low unemployment. These two macroeconomic objectives and the relationship between them give us a very important macroeconomic concept, which is known as the short-run Phillips Curve, which is in fact going to be our concept of the class. Now let's learn this with the help of an example. It's year 2021, pandemic is at its peak. The inflation rate in US is 1.5%, whereas unemployment is as high as 6.3%. Whenever an economy is not able to achieve its macroeconomic objectives, the responsibility lies on the head of the government to stabilize the economy. Government came up with various policies trying to increase the aggregate demand in the economy. It included the expansionary fiscal policies, expansionary monetary policies. The term expansionary here means that the government is trying to increase the size of the aggregate demand. Why are we increasing the aggregate demand? To get the economy out of a recession or to reduce unemployment. Let's see an analysis chain. First, when aggregate demand increases, the businesses, they will receive more amount of orders. Since there is more demand in the economy, more production will take place. Once the production increases, that will lead to greater amount of output. Now, labor is a derived demand. Since there is greater production and more amount of output produced, there is also greater demand for labor. And this exactly leads to lower unemployment. Now, this means that the government has solved the problem, but it's really not that easy. Let's see the other side. When aggregate demand goes up, there is another problem which is taking place. That is, the spending in the economy has also increased. This becomes a problem when it in fact leads to more pressure on the prices. As there is higher pressure on prices, there is higher inflation in the economy. Now, where the economy is able to achieve its one macroeconomic objective of low unemployment in the economy, it fails to achieve its another macroeconomic objective of low inflation. Let's look at this entire concept with the help of a diagram. We are taking inflation on y-axis, whereas unemployment is on the x-axis. Let's assume my inflation rate is approximately 1.5% in the economy, whereas unemployment is 6.3% in the economy. This gives me a point, let's call it A. Now government will intervene and come up with policies to reduce the unemployment in the economy. Once government increases the aggregate demand, increases production, the demand for labor increases, leading to lower unemployment. Let's say my unemployment falls down from 6.3% to 3.6%. However, because of higher demand for labor, higher incomes are being earned. Higher incomes also will lead to more spending. There are also lower interest rates in the economy, which is a part of my expansionary monetary policy. All of this will lead to greater spending. Greater spending will lead to greater aggregate demand, and greater aggregate demand will increase my inflation in the economy. So my rate, it increases from 1.5% to, let's say, 6.1% in the economy. And this gives me another point which is called point B. If I merge these 2 points, I get my short-run Phillips curve, which is a downward sloping curve. Why is it downward sloping? It is downward sloping because of the inverse relationship between the two macroeconomic variables. Now, why is my Phillips curve a downward sloping curve? It's a downward sloping curve because of the inverse relationship between two macroeconomic objectives, where one is inflation and another is unemployment. This is exactly what is known as the trade-off between inflation and unemployment. Once government tries to achieve one macroeconomic objective, it fails to achieve the another. Now, this is an important concept from paper 2 perspective also. It can easily be asked as a short question. When it comes to longer questions in paper 1, this concept, it gets combined with your LRPC as well as the shift in the SRPC, which coincides with the leftward shift in SRAS. I know this is all very complicated. However, we'll cover it up in our upcoming lectures. Thank you.